Hello and welcome to Moment of Truth on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. The Tories are up to their old tricks again this week, playing their sick, twisted game, stabbing each other in the back, wasting valuable parliamentary time, notably not doing anything about our crippling interest rates or the lack of inward investment or the fact that the economy hasn't grown in 17 years, but instead focusing on sending a handful of desperate women and children to Rwanda at a cost of several £1,000,000 per person. This cruel, costly and quite frankly insane policy concept was introduced under Priti Patel's reign of terror. Remember her? She was the worst Home Secretary ever, who then handed this piss and poison chalice to Suella Braverman, who glugged it down with glee, cementing her position in the nation's hearts as the new worst Home Secretary ever. But then came along James Not So Cleverly, and he got straight to work making jokes about drugging and raping his wife. Because to a Tory, rape is funny. Ha ha ha. Just when you think they couldn't possibly sink any lower. 3 Home Secretaries, £290 million spent so far. How many desperate women and children sent to Rwanda? 0. There's that old saying about the definition of madness being when you try the same thing over and over again in the expectation of a different result. I think we can go one step further and say that the real definition of madness is the current iteration of the Tory party. Simple as that. So we've got Z-listers like Leanderthal and Brendan Clark-Smith, who have defied the Prime Minister by supporting Bill Cash's and Robert Jenrick's unhinged and unlawful amendments to the Rwanda legislation. The Cash Amendment, which failed 529 to 68, and the Jenrick Amendment, which failed 525 to 58, both sought to block international human rights laws from applying in this country. Because that's always worked so well for the people of whatever country it is in which their human rights have been curtailed. Chile under Pinochet, Cambodia under Pol Pot, Uganda under Idi Amin, Libya under Colonel Gaddafi, Nazi Germany. In a functioning Tory government, 30p Lee and Brenda Bellend wouldn't be allowed anywhere near the front benches, but they both somehow ended up as deputy chairs of the party. After all, that barrel ain't gonna scrape itself. In the last hour, they've both resigned from their positions, and this little performative act of rebellion is being regarded as a direct threat to the authority of Rishi Sunak, who will now have to, at the very least, contemplate removing the party whip. Earlier, bird flipper of the people Andrea Jenkins, a shriveled up husk of a human being who was unceremoniously sacked from government by Sunak, wrote on Twitter that of the then mooted rebellion, hopefully more to come. Jenkins went on to say that she will back the amendments not to stop the boats, she couldn't give a shit about the boats, but to try and force Sunak from office, hoping that it will result in a flurry of letters of no confidence in the Prime Minister to the powerful 1922 Backbench Committee. So we can, and I quote, get a new and true Conservative leader. Because the last 5 were just not new and true enough. Meanwhile, Tory MP Simon Clarke says that as things stand, he's minded to simply vote against the Rwanda bill, as he does not believe it'll work. As far as he's concerned, the Tory party should not march the British public up that hill again. It's worth noting that if not a single vulnerable woman or child is sent to Rwanda, then our government will have wasted £290 million of taxpayers' money on sending 3 Home Secretaries to Rwanda and exactly 0 refugees. Despite all this, The Guardian is reporting that the government insiders believe they will get through the committee stage of the bill without any amendments, although the key third reading is a much steeper challenge because it would just require 29 Tory MPs to rebel or 57 to abstain for it to fail. However, Number 10 is dismissing these rebels as a paper tiger, saying they won't follow through with their threat to vote against it. In other words, they're all mouth and no trousers. Unlike what happened during the second reading of the bill last month, there have been few, if any, attempts by Sunak's team to reach out to the Tory backbenchers and their the simple-minded lunatics that populate them. I get the impression that at this point, Sunak is just past caring. What these backbenchers want is a full-fat version of the Rwanda bill, advocated by the disgraced former Home Secretary Suella Braverman, Tower Hamlets development tax swindler Robert Degenerate Jenrick, and the so-called 5 families of backbench Tory psychopaths, presumably named after the Manson family, only 5 times more horrific. This full-fat bill would have resulted in all relevant sections of the UK's Human Rights Act being blocked and would have allowed ministers to ignore the European Convention on Human Rights, denying people seeking asylum any chance to appeal against their deportation. Sunak doesn't want to pursue this option because he believes, quite rightly, it would be a breach of the UK's legal obligations under the European Convention of Human Rights, which it absolutely would be. In other words, the current bill would see nobody sent to Rwanda, and the bill as amended by the headbangers might see a handful of people sent to Rwanda, only to have them brought back at a cost of millions of pounds for the ensuing legal fees, as the UK government is found, as it would be, to have broken international law. It is absolutely staggering that at this moment in time when millions of people are shivering in their homes, unable to afford to put on the heating, while millions of people are waiting up for NHS operations, while millions of people can't see a dentist or get the medications they require, this is what the Tories think is the most important thing in the world right now. This is what they want to spend important parliamentary time pissing around doing. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The Tories do not know how to create anything. They only know how to destroy, as the good people of Britain have well and truly learned over the last 14 turgid years of Tory misrule, misappropriation and misdeeds. We've been ruled over by a cavalcade of calamitous cronies who don't know the price of anything, the cost of anything, or the value of anything. Let's face it, the Tories are toast, whether they get the Rwanda bill passed or not. But they actually send desperate women and children to a dangerous African dictatorship to face possible deportation back where they came from, sexual assault, torture, or even death, then I can't be the only one who believes there must be a reckoning. And each one of these posh, out-of-touch Tory bastards needs to face the consequences for what they have done, for the suffering that they have doled out, for the cruelty and the criminality that these sick Tory bastards seem to get off on. Anyway, that's my take on the situation. Let me know yours in the comments below.